Thalidomide is a drug that was created by the West German company Chemie Grunenthal in 1954. First marketed under the name Countergen, the drug was mainly prescribed as a sedative or sleeping pill, but it also claimed to cure an assortment of problems including morning sickness in pregnant women. Shortly after being sold over the counter in October of 1957, 5,000 to 7,000 children around Western Germany were born with deformities, including a disorder called phocomelia. Phocomelia is a birth defect received through genetics or through the use of certain drugs and causes malformations in the limbs and other parts of the body. Phocomelia that's caused due to the use of drugs or pharmaceuticals is known as thalidomide syndrome. It's not known exactly how thalidomide affects an unborn child, but when the baby is developing in the fetus, they go through a process known as angiogenesis, which is when new blood vessels form by splitting from pre-existing blood vessels. It's believed that thalidomide causes blood vessels not to develop properly or at all, and sometimes kills the vessels during the angiogenesis process. This may explain the disorders caused by thalidomide, since limb growth of the fetus is heavily dependent on the angiogenesis stage of development. Just one pill containing thalidomide can cause birth defects or result in miscarriage. Some studies have revealed that thalidomide can travel through sperm or semen. Afterbirth defects include brain deficiencies, small head size, deformities of the face, missing ears and deafness, defects of the muscles of the eye and of the face that can cause blindness, missing or shrunken eyes, limbs that form contorted, undeveloped, or even as stumps, defects of the leg bones, deformed hip bone, hands with fingers fused together, ingrown genitalia, and an assortment of internal organ problems, including a deformed digestive system, a deformed urinary tract, severe heart problems, severe kidney problems, and deformed or missing lungs. By the early 1960s, thalidomide was being sold in 46 countries under dozens of various product names. Around that time, doctors and health professionals began to publicly question the supposed wonder drug and its creators after pregnant women who had been on the drug in the early stages of pregnancy began giving birth to children with malformations. They also began receiving complaints from patients about negative side effects from thalidomide, including unpleasant feelings in hands and feet, burning pain, abnormal coldness, headache, dizziness, restlessness, and paralysis. In 1960, a Canadian pharmacologist by the name of Francis Oldham Kelsey was working as the official in charge of FDA review in the United States. Despite constant pressures from the pharmaceutical companies, Kelsey refused to accept thalidomide in the US until further research was made to prove it had no severe side effects. Once the phocomelia outbreak and other birth defects were traced back to thalidomide, Frances Kelsey and her colleagues were praised for their decision that saved hundreds to thousands of American babies and families from the death and anguish caused by thalidomide. However, an FDA document shows that an American pharmaceutical company by the name of Smith, Kline & French tested thalidomide on 875 US citizens, including pregnant women. As a result, 17 children were born in the United States with malformations caused by thalidomide. In 1962, Kelsey was given the President's Award for Distinguished Federal Civilian Service by President John F. Kennedy. Her work also led to stricter drug approval regulations. While Kelsey and the FDA were able to protect the American public from thalidomide, many countries allowed the sale of the drug over the counter. In late November of 1961, multiple health professionals had traced the birth defects back to thalidomide, and the drug was pulled from stores in Western Germany and the UK. While parts of Europe had grown wise to the side effects of thalidomide, countries like Canada, Belgium, Brazil, and Japan left the drug in stores over 3 months after studies showed it was the cause of malformations in developing babies. Due to poor government regulation and the pharmaceutical company Chemie Grunenthal pushing their product where they could, thalidomide remained on store shelves in Spain up to the 1970s, possibly even the 80s. Chemie Grunenthal denied that thalidomide caused birth defects years after it was proven to cause malformations, most likely to push sales of the drug where it could, or to downplay the serious side effects of their product. Even after thalidomide was taken off the market, it took years for people to realize that thalidomide was in products they had previously purchased, and up to the mid-60s, children were reported to be born around the world with birth defects caused by the drug. It's estimated that about 10,000 to 20,000 children were affected by thalidomide in the 50s and 60s. Many died before birth, and about 50% of those born died before their first birthday. Today, those who survived into adulthood fight to meet their medical needs as age brings new problems such as bone and muscle deterioration on their already handicapped bodies. In 1970, Kemi Grunenthal agreed to pay around $28 million into a fund for the victims in Western Germany and was given permanent legal immunity in Germany in return. When money in the fund ran out, the German government made compensation payments, and in 2009, Grunenthal put another $50 million into the fund. The settlement amounts the victims were given do not even come close to the phenomenal medical fees brought on by thalidomide. Victims in countries like Canada and the UK were left to fight the pharmaceutical companies on their own, and were usually paid much smaller settlements and had gag orders forced on them not to speak about their settlement. In 2015, Spain's Supreme Court voted against Kemi Grunenthal paying settlements to the estimated 300 thalidomide victims still in the country today. In 2012, Kemi Grunenthal CEO Harold Stock gave a public apology to the victims of thalidomide and their families for the drug's negative effects and the company's silence on the matter for over 50 years. They also revealed a bronze sculpture of a girl suffering from thalidomide at their headquarters in Stolberg as a memorial. Many victims and their families were not happy with the company's apology that came over half a century late, and feel Grunenthal failed to pay proper compensation as well as avoided criminal charges for pushing the selling of a drug that was proven to cause birth defects for many years afterwards. Thalidomide is still being used today on the treatment of leprosy, cancer, AIDS, and many other serious illnesses, as it has shown signs of slowing or stopping the development of certain diseases and tumors. This has led to some thalidomide-affected children being born in Africa and other parts of the world in recent years, as leprosy and other diseases run rampant.